Hello everyone and welcome to another short video on our own devices. I'm Jean Messier and today we are diving back into the wonderful world of Polaroid cameras with a really cool variant. This is a Polaroid MiniPortrait Model 202, introduced in 1977 and designed to take multiple smaller pictures for passports and other identity documents. Now, if you want to learn about the history, engineering, and chemistry of Polaroid and other instant film cameras, I do have a whole series of videos on that subject, links in the description. In this video, I'll be glossing over most of that and just focusing on the features unique to this particular camera. Now, like I said, the MiniPortrait was introduced in 1977 and came in two basic versions. The Model 202, like this one, which had 2 lenses, and the Model 402, which had 4 lenses. This is built around a standard Model 73 color pack film holder and is designed to take 100 format pack film, which measures 3¼ by 4¼ inches or 8.3 times 10.8 centimeters. To load this, we flip open this latch on the right, open the rear door, insert our film pack, and pull the film leader tab out through these rollers in the door. And if you want to remove the entire film holder to replace it with another, you simply slide down these locks on both sides and it comes right off. Now, unfortunately, this example is missing its dark slide, which could be slid over the front of the film holder before removal to protect the film inside. Now, as I've covered in previous videos, unlike Polaroid's more familiar integral film introduced in 1972, pack film had to be physically removed from the camera, and you had to wait a certain amount of time for the image to develop before peeling open the pack to reveal the final photograph. Moving to the front of the camera, we have 2 lenses with a focal distance of 1.2 meters and a number of controls. On the top, we have a slider with 5 aperture settings, f8, f11, f16, f22, and f32, as well as a synchronization jack for a flash gun, which can be attached to this cold shoe on the viewfinder. On the bottom, we have another slider with 3 shutter speed settings, 1/60th of a second, 1/125th of a second, and B or bulb for long exposures, which holds the shutter open as long as the shutter release is held down. And that shutter release is activated by a cable connected to this handle-mounted trigger. And to use the camera, you first cock the shutter by pushing down this handle on the right, then squeeze the trigger. Next, we have a viewfinder with 2 different aiming reticles, 3 dots in a diagonal line, and a horizontal line. And interestingly, this particular camera appears to have seen quite a bit of use at a passport office or photography studio, whose employees added a handy guide to the top of the camera. For Canadian passport photos, you place the bottom dot just above the subject's hairline, while for Canadian citizenship cards, discontinued in 2012, you place the horizontal line through the subject's eyes. Finally, you might notice that these lenses are fixed focus, so without a reflex viewfinder looking straight through the lenses, how do you know if the subject is at the correct distance and in focus? Easy. You reach the tripod mounting pillar at the bottom and pull out your hand integral tape measure. Now, unfortunately, there appears to be no convenient way of disassembling this camera. I suspect that this front panel is glued on and that the disassembly screws are behind it, and I really don't want to damage this pretty much immaculate condition camera by attempting to pry it off. However, I can remove and disassemble the viewfinder. As you can see, we have a frosted glass screen with an engraved reticle, and the image from this is reflected off this mirror onto this angled beam splitter in the viewfinder, superimposing it over the scene being photographed. Now, while all of that is pretty straightforward, there are actually a lot of different variations on this basic concept. Now, most of these models differed in rather minor ways, such as aperture and shutter settings, but some of the more major and interesting variations included the MiniPortrait 203 and 403, which featured an integral sonar automatic range-finding system and electronic flash, the ID200, which had a sliding mat to mask off half the film, allowing the user to take 2 different pairs of images. There were several other variations on this system offered. For example, the Studio Express came with 4 lens caps, while the MiniPortrait 202, 203, 402, and 403 could be fitted with a rotating disc with a single aperture to allow up to 4 different images to be taken on the same piece of film. Later versions, like the MiniPortrait 455, featured internal lens selector mechanisms with external selector switches. The MiniPortrait 455 and 454 were also designed to take larger 4x5 inch or 10.2 by 12.7 centimeter format pack film. Several models like the MiniPortrait 484 came with detachable or swing-in lenses for switching the focal distance between 1.2 and 1.92 meters. The Studio Express 485B was designed to take square rather than rectangular format passport photos, while the MiniPortrait 201 had a focal distance of 30 centimeters for close-up portraits. Now, certain versions of the MiniPortrait and other Polaroid ID cameras, though not this example, included a little red filter inside the viewfinder that snapped into place when the shutter wasn't cocked, as well as a developing timer on the back panel that told you how long you needed to wait before peeling apart the film to reveal the final image. And finally, a custom printed validation plate could be fitted to the film holder to imprint a studio-specific watermark on each image for security purposes. And that, dear viewers, is a brief overview of Polaroid ID cameras. And you know me, I love Polaroid cameras and finding unique variations, and so when I found this one, I knew I had to pick it up and show it to you. So I hope you found that interesting. I'll see you next time, another video where I looked at yet more cameras and other fascinating devices just like this one. Until then, I'm Jean Messier from Our Own Devices. Have a great day.